Admiral Minho Park stood in the center of the Galactic Council chamber, surrounded by beings from 100 different worlds. The chamber was massive, built to make anyone standing in the center feel small and powerless. Crystal walls rose high above, and the seats of the council members formed a circle around him, each one elevated so they looked down at whoever came to speak. Minho kept his back straight and his face calm. He had been a soldier for 30 years before becoming Earth's chief diplomat. He knew how to hide fear, even when his heart was beating fast. "The Council has made its decision," announced High Counselor Vrax. The Draconite stood nearly 3 meters tall, covered in dark scales that seemed to absorb the light around him. His voice echoed through the chamber like thunder. "Humanity has expanded too quickly. Your colonies spread like a disease across the galaxy. Your military grows stronger every year. The peaceful races of this council feel threatened." Minho wanted to laugh, but he kept his expression neutral. Threatened? The Draconites alone had a fleet 10 times the size of humanity's entire navy. The Valorans had been traveling between stars when humans were still learning to make fire, but he said nothing. He let Vrax continue. "We have evidence," Vrax said, and a holographic display appeared in the air above Minho's head. It showed human ships near Valoran space. "Your vessels have been detected near restricted zones. Your military conducts exercises without notifying the Council. You build weapons we do not understand." Minho studied the images carefully. The ships were human, yes, but they were cargo vessels on normal trade routes. The military exercises were routine training operations that Earth had reported months ago, and the weapons, standard defensive systems that any species would develop. "With respect, Counselor," Minho said, his voice steady, "those are merchant ships on approved trading routes. The military exercises were properly documented and submitted to Council records. As for our weapons technology, every species in this chamber develops their own defensive capabilities." "Silence!" Vrax's voice boomed. "We did not bring you here to debate. We brought you here to deliver the Council's judgment." A Valoran counselor, ancient and wise-looking with pale blue skin and large dark eyes, spoke next. Her voice was softer, but no less final. "Humanity will withdraw from all colonies beyond your home system. You have 60 standard days to evacuate 47 colony worlds. Your species will remain in the Sol system until the Council determines you are ready to rejoin galactic civilization." The chamber fell silent. Minho felt the weight of those words settle on his shoulders. 47 worlds, 12 star systems. Billions of humans who had built lives among the stars, who had worked for generations to create new homes. All of it gone. "This is not justice," Minho said quietly. "This is fear." "Call it what you wish," Vrax replied. "You have 60 days. Council enforcement fleets are already moving into position. If any human vessels remain beyond Sol after that time, they will be destroyed. If humanity resists, Earth itself will face consequences." Minho activated his communication device, sending a priority signal back to Earth. He needed to speak with Dr. Hana Kim and the others. They had prepared for this possibility, though he had hoped it would never come. "May I address the Council one final time?" Minho asked. Vrax waved a clawed hand dismissively. "Speak quickly. The decision is made." Minho looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of as many counselors as he could. Some looked away, ashamed. Others stared back with cold certainty. "We came to the stars seeking friendship," Minho began. "We shared our technology, our culture, our dreams. When the Draconites faced the Krell Rebellion, human ships fought beside yours. When plague struck the Valoran colonies, human doctors worked day and night to save your people. We asked for nothing but a chance to stand as equals among you." He paused, letting his words echo in the vast chamber. "But you see us as threats. You fear what we might become instead of embracing what we are. Very well, we will leave. We will take our ships, our people, our hopes, and we will go. But understand this, we will remember, and we warn you now. Do not follow us. Do not seek us out. Do not threaten us again." "Is that a threat?" Vrax demanded, rising from his seat. "No," Minho replied calmly. "It is a warning. There is a difference. A threat is what you deliver from a position of strength, trying to control others through fear. A warning is what you give from a position of knowledge, trying to prevent future tragedy." "You speak in riddles," the Valoran counselor said. "Perhaps," Minho acknowledged. "Or perhaps you simply do not want to understand." He turned to leave, but stopped and looked back one more time. "Counselor Vrax, you said we build weapons you do not understand. That is true, but not in the way you think. The weapons we build are not meant for you. They were never meant for you. We tried to tell you what we found out there, beyond the edges of your charts. We tried to warn you about what lurks in the darkness between the galaxies. But you would not listen. You were too focused on controlling us to hear what we were really saying." Silence filled the chamber. A few counselors shifted uncomfortably in their seats. 60 days, Minho said softly. "We will be gone in 60 days. But remember this moment. Remember that you chose fear over friendship. Because one day, you will need friends. You will need allies who understand what real threats look like. And on that day, you will remember that you sent us away." Minho walked toward the exit, his footsteps echoing on the crystal floor. As he reached the doorway, he heard Vrax call out behind him. "Do you really think you can frighten the council with vague warnings about monsters in the dark?" Minho stopped, but did not turn around. "I am not trying to frighten you, counselor. I am trying to save you. There is a difference. You will learn it, eventually. I just hope it is not too late when you do." He left the chamber and returned to his ship. Within minutes, he was transmitting encrypted messages to Earth, to the colonies, to Captain Una Choi and the fleet commanders. The message was simple. "Begin Protocol Exodus. They have left us no choice." In her laboratory on Earth, Dr. Hana Kim received the message. She looked at the research data displayed across dozens of screens, showing technologies that would have terrified the Council if they truly understood. She thought about the discoveries humanity had made in just 50 years of space exploration, the ancient ruins they had found, the warnings left behind by civilizations that came before. She sent her own message to the research division. "Move everything to the secondary facilities. Prepare for deep space operations. They fear what we are. Soon they will understand what we had to become." Across 47 worlds, millions of humans began packing their lives into ships. They were angry, heartbroken, confused, but they were human. They would adapt, they would survive, and they would remember. The evacuation took 58 days, 2 days ahead of the Council's deadline, but it felt like an eternity to those who lived through it. Captain Una Choi watched from the bridge of her ship as the last transport vessel lifted off from New Seoul, humanity's third-largest colony. The city below was still intact, buildings standing empty like tombstones marking where human dreams had died. Parks where children had played were silent now. Schools, hospitals, homes, all abandoned because the galaxy's great powers had decided humanity was too dangerous to tolerate. Una had been born on New Seoul. She had never seen Earth except in pictures. Now she was leaving the only home she had ever known, and she might never return. "All transports away, Captain," reported Taeyang Shin from the communications station. He was young, barely 22, and his voice shook slightly. "The colony is empty." "Good," Una said quietly. "Set course for the rendezvous point beyond the galactic rim." "Yes, ma'am?" The fleet jumped to faster-than-light travel, leaving New Seoul behind forever. But Yuna's mission was not finished. She had volunteered for one final task, one last journey into Council space. 3 weeks later, Yuna's ship emerged from FTL near the Council headquarters. She came alone, in a small diplomatic vessel with no weapons, no shields, no defenses of any kind. The Council's defense fleet immediately surrounded her, guns trained on her ship from every direction. "This is Captain Yuna Choi of Earth," she transmitted on all frequencies. "I request permission to address the Council one final time." There was a long pause. Then, "Permission granted. You will be escorted to the station under heavy guard." Yuna smiled grimly. Of course they would grant permission. They wanted to gloat, to see the defeated humans one last time before they disappeared into the darkness. The council chamber looked exactly as it had when Admiral Minho Park stood there 2 months ago. The same crystal walls, the same elevated seats, the same sense of overwhelming power designed to make visitors feel small. Yuna stood in the center and looked up at the counselors with calm, steady eyes. Counselor Vrax leaned forward in his seat. "Have you come to beg for mercy? To ask us to reconsider?" "No," Yuna replied simply. Silence. Vrax looked confused, as if he could not imagine any other reason for her presence. "Then why are you here?" "To deliver a message, to make sure you understand what you have done, and to give you one final warning." A ripple of laughter moved through some of the counselors. The Valoran counselor who had spoken at Minho's trial shook her head sadly. "Child, you are in no position to warn anyone. Your people are scattered and broken. You have no colonies, no territory beyond your single star system. What could you possibly warn us about?" Yuna pulled out a small data device and placed it on the floor in front of her. A holographic display activated, showing images of human ships disappearing into the void beyond the galactic rim. "We came to you seeking partnership," Yuna began, her voice clear and strong. "We believed that intelligent species could work together, share knowledge, face the universe side by side. We were wrong. You chose fear over friendship." "You expanded too quickly," Vrax interrupted. "You built weapons we could not understand. You were becoming a threat." "We expanded because we were running out of time," Yuna said. "We built weapons because we needed them for what was coming. But you never asked us why. You never tried to understand. You just assumed we were a threat to you." She gestured at the holographic display, and new images appeared. Ancient ruins on distant worlds, strange technology that predated any known civilization. Sensor readings showing massive energy signatures in the deep dark between galaxies. "We found these things," Yuna continued, "on dozens of worlds, ruins of civilizations that died millions of years ago. And we found their warnings carved into stone, encoded in metal, preserved in crystals, warnings about something that comes from the darkness. Something that destroyed them despite all their power." Ji-young Nam, standing quietly beside Yuna as her intelligence officer, activated another set of images. These showed calculations, predictions, mathematical models. "We tried to tell you," Ji-young said. 3 years ago, Admiral Park presented evidence to the Council about anomalies at the galactic rim. He was told to stop wasting the Council's time with ghost stories." "Because they were ghost stories," a counselor from the back rows called out. "Old ruins and sensor glitches. Nothing more." "Maybe," Yuna acknowledged. "Maybe we are wrong. Maybe there is nothing out there but darkness and empty space. But we do not think so. And neither did the civilizations that came before you, the ones who built monuments to warn future generations about the danger." She took a deep breath and delivered the real message. The words she had memorized. The words that every human leader had agreed must be said. "We are leaving, as you commanded. We are taking our ships, our people, and our knowledge, and we are going beyond the edge of your charts. But we need you to understand something very important. We are not fleeing in fear of you. We are disappointed in you. We hoped for better. We believed you were wise enough to listen, to learn, to work together. We were wrong. Vrax stood, his scales rustling with anger. You dare to lecture us? You who have existed in space for less than a century, while my people have ruled the stars for 10,000 years? Yes, Una said simply. I dare, because age does not guarantee wisdom. Power does not guarantee understanding. You have ruled for 10,000 years, but you have grown comfortable, soft. You stopped exploring the hard places because you already controlled the easy ones. You stopped asking difficult questions because you liked your easy answers. She pointed at the holographic images again. We found these ruins on worlds you considered worthless. Dead systems with no resources, no strategic value. You never bothered to explore them because they offered nothing you wanted. But they offered something we needed: knowledge, truth, warning. Taeyang activated his recording equipment, making sure every word, every image was captured and transmitted back to Earth. This moment needed to be preserved. So here is our final message to you, Una said. We are leaving. We will go beyond your borders, beyond your authority, beyond your reach, and we warn you. Do not follow us. Do not send your ships to monitor us. Do not try to control what we build in the darkness. Is that a threat? Vrax demanded again, just as he had with Minho. It is a boundary, Una replied. You wanted us gone. We are going. But we are going on our terms, to do what we believe is necessary. If you cross the boundary, if you interfere with what we are building, there will be consequences. Not because we want to hurt you, but because you will be interfering with preparations that might save all of us one day. She looked around the chamber one more time, trying to see if any of them understood. A few counselors looked thoughtful. Most looked angry or dismissive. Vrax looked ready to order her arrested. We tried, Una said quietly. We tried to do this together. You refused. So now we do it alone. But remember this moment. Remember that when we needed you, you sent us away. Because one day you will need us. And on that day, we will remember how you treated us. She picked up her data device and turned to leave. What makes you think we will ever need you? The Valoran counselor called out. Una stopped and looked back. Because the darkness is patient, she said. But it is not forever. What destroyed those ancient civilizations is still out there, still waiting. And when it comes, you will wish you had listened to us. You will wish you had let us help you prepare. But it will be too late for wishes. She walked out of the chamber, Taeyang and Ji-young following close behind. As they boarded their ship and prepared to leave, Taeyang sent one final encrypted message to Earth. We tried. We warned them. Now we build. The small ship jumped to FTL and disappeared, heading for the darkness beyond the galactic rim. Behind them, in the council chamber, silence reigned. Some counselors looked uncertain, others looked angry, but all of them watched the view screens as the human ship vanished into the void. They are bluffing, Vrax said finally, trying to frighten us with stories. But even he did not sound entirely certain. 25 years passed. In council space, life continued much as it always had. The Draconites maintained their military dominance. The Valorans pursued their ancient philosophies. Trade routes hummed with activity, and the galactic economy grew slowly but steadily. Occasionally, someone would mention the humans, wondering what had become of them in the darkness beyond the rim. But mostly, they were forgotten. The Council congratulated itself on eliminating a potential threat before it could grow too large. A few voices warned against complacency, suggesting they should monitor the humans' activities. But these voices were dismissed. Why worry about a species confined to a single star system, far from anything important? But strange things began happening at the edges of Council space. Ships that ventured too close to the boundary where human space began never returned. Not destroyed, just gone, as if they had never existed. Trade routes near the rim went silent. Automated listening posts stopped transmitting. And in the darkness beyond the edge of charted space, sensors sometimes detected energy signatures that made no sense, that violated known physics, that suggested technologies the Council had never imagined. None of this was considered urgent. Space was dangerous. Ships disappeared sometimes. Equipment malfunctioned. It meant nothing. In the darkness beyond the galactic rim, in a region humans now called the Forge, humanity had transformed itself. Dr. Hana Kim, now 87 years old, stood in a laboratory that would have been impossible to build 25 years ago. The walls hummed with power that bent space itself. Holographic displays showed calculations that involved math the Council had never discovered. On tables around her rested devices that looked like art and functioned like miracles. The latest test was successful, reported Nari Song, chief engineer of the New Technologies Division. She was young, born during the Exodus, part of the generation that knew nothing but exile and hard work. The dimensional shields held for 6 hours at full power. That is 3 hours longer than our previous record. Hana nodded slowly. Her body was old and tired, but her mind remained sharp. Good. How are the biological integration systems? Working beyond our predictions, Nari replied. Subjects report full neural connection with ship systems. Response time is now measured in milliseconds instead of seconds. Hana allowed herself a small smile. 25 years ago, most of this research had been theoretical. The Council would have called it impossible, but humans had a gift for making impossible things real when survival was at stake. Commander Do-hyun Kang entered the laboratory, moving with the quiet confidence of someone born and trained in the harshest environments. He was 32 years old and had never seen Earth. His parents had been among the refugees from New Seoul. He had grown up in space stations and on colony ships, learning to be a soldier in a place where every mistake could mean death. Dr. Kim, he said respectfully, long-range sensors have detected Council ships approaching the boundary. A small exploration fleet, probably looking for resources. Hana sighed. How long until they cross into our territory? 2 days, if they maintain current course and speed. Have they detected our listening posts? No, Do-hyun replied. They still use the same sensor technology they had 25 years ago. We could be sitting right next to them and they would not see us. Hana walked slowly to a window that looked out over the shipyards. Hundreds of vessels hung in space, unlike anything the Council had ever built. They looked organic, almost alive, their hulls formed from materials that responded to thought and adapted to threats. Some were small, no larger than fighters. Others were massive, city-sized constructs that served as mobile research stations and defensive platforms. This was what humanity had built in 25 years of exile. This was what happened when you took a species that thrived on challenges and gave them the ultimate challenge: survive alone in the dark or die. Send Yunjibaek's diplomatic team, Hana said finally. Let her try to turn them away peacefully, but have Do-hyun's defense fleet ready, just in case. Yes, ma'am. 2 days later, the Council exploration fleet crossed the boundary. They were searching for rare minerals, desperate to find new resources after their economy had stagnated. The Council had not expanded in decades, too comfortable with what they already controlled. Now they were paying the price for their complacency. Captain Seojun Park, grandson of Admiral Minho Park, commanded the defense fleet. He was young, only 28, but he had trained for this his entire life. Every child born in exile knew this day might come, the day when the Council would cross the line. Yunjibaek's diplomatic ship appeared first. transmitting on frequencies the Council vessels could receive. Council ships, you are entering protected territory. We ask that you turn back immediately. This is not a threat. This is a request for your own safety. The Council Fleet Commander, a Draconite named Threx, responded with confusion and anger. This sector is unclaimed space. You have no authority here. Identify yourself. I am Onji Bayek, representing the Human Federation. These territories are now under our protection. We do not wish conflict. Please turn back. There was a long pause. Then Threx's voice returned, filled with disbelief and amusement. Human? The humans who fled like cowards 25 years ago? You dare to claim authority over anything? Yunji sighed. She had expected this reaction. Admiral Threx, please listen carefully. Much has changed in 25 years. We are not the same species you forced into exile. Turn back now, while we are still asking politely. I see no fleet, Threx replied. I see one small diplomatic vessel making empty threats. Stand aside or be destroyed. Do-Yun, listening from his flagship, gave a hand signal. Immediately, the cloaking systems on 30 human ships deactivated. They appeared around the Council fleet like ghosts materializing from nothing, surrounding them completely. The Council ships' alarms screamed. Their sensors went crazy, detecting energy signatures they could not identify, weapons systems they could not classify, ships that should not be able to exist. What? What is this? Threx stammered, all his confidence gone. Yunji's voice remained calm and professional. This is what humanity became when you sent us into the darkness. This is what happens when you force a species to evolve or die. We chose to evolve. Now once again we ask you politely, turn back. Threx, trained by 10,000 years of Draconite military tradition, made a fatal mistake. He ordered his ships to attack. The battle lasted 17 seconds. Human ships moved like living things, twisting through space in ways that violated physics as the Council understood it. Weapons fire from the Council fleet passed through empty space where human ships had been milliseconds before. And when the humans returned fire, they did not use weapons that destroyed. They used weapons that stopped. Every Council ship found its systems frozen, engines died, weapons powered down, life support continued, but everything else simply stopped working. The crews were unharmed, sitting in ships that had become metal coffins floating in space. Do-Yun's voice came over every Council ship's communication system. You fired first. Remember that. We gave you a chance to withdraw peacefully. You chose violence. But we are not like you. We do not destroy defeated enemies. We send them home with a message. He paused, letting his words sink in. Tell the Council what you saw here today. Tell them that humanity did not flee in fear. We left in disappointment. Tell them that we became strong not to threaten them, but to protect ourselves from what they refused to see. And tell them this. If they send another fleet, if they threaten us again, the next encounter will not be so gentle. Slowly, carefully, human ships began towing the disabled Council vessels back toward the boundary. Once across, Do-Yun's engineers restored basic functions to the Council ships, just enough to limp home. Admiral Threx, humiliated and terrified, sent an emergency transmission to the Council. Unknown hostile force encountered at boundary. Request immediate reinforcements, the humans. They are not what we thought. They are not what anyone thought. In the Council chamber, the emergency session erupted in chaos as they watched the battle footage transmitted from Threx's ships. 17 seconds of combat that showed them a truth they had refused to see for 25 years. Humanity had not been defeated. They had been freed. Freed from the Council's restrictions, freed to become what they needed to be. And what they had become was terrifying. The Council chamber had never been so full of fear. Counselors from 100 worlds watched the battle footage again and again. unable to believe what they were seeing. 17 seconds. An entire Draconite exploration fleet. Disabled in 17 seconds by an enemy they had dismissed as broken and defeated. Counselor Vrax, older now but still proud, stood before the assembly. His scales had dulled with age, but his voice remained strong. "This changes nothing," he declared. "They disabled a small exploration fleet. This does not make them our equals. We have thousands of ships, millions of warriors. If the humans want war, we will give them war." But not everyone agreed. The Valoran counselor, ancient beyond measure, shook her head slowly. "Did you watch the footage, Vrax? Truly watch it? Those human ships moved in ways our physicists say are impossible. They appeared from nothing, as if space itself was hiding them. And their weapons? They did not destroy Threx's fleet. They turned it off. They could have killed everyone aboard those ships. But they chose mercy." "Mercy is weakness," Vrax growled. "Or mercy is confidence," another counselor suggested. "Perhaps they spared Threx's fleet because they knew they could, because they wanted to send a message." "What message?" Vrax demanded. "That they are stronger than us," the Valoran replied quietly, "and that they remember we sent them away." The debate raged for hours. Some counselors wanted immediate military action. Others urged caution. A few suggested attempting diplomatic contact, though they were shouted down by those who considered it weakness. Finally, the council reached a decision. They would send a larger fleet, a proper military force, to the boundary. Not to attack, they claimed, but to establish a presence and assess the situation. If the humans responded with hostility, then the council would have justification for a full military response. Nobody mentioned that this was exactly the kind of thinking that had led to the current crisis. Admiral Minho Park, now 92 years old, sat in his home on humanity's new capital world. The planet had no name yet. Humans simply called it home because it was the first world they had truly claimed in exile. He watched the reports coming in from council space with a mixture of sadness and resignation. His grandson Seojun visited him that evening, still in his uniform from commanding the defense fleet. "They are coming again," Seojun said, sitting down across from his grandfather. "A full battle fleet this time, 300 ships." Minho nodded slowly. "Of course they are. They cannot accept that we are no longer afraid of them. Should we have destroyed Threx's fleet instead of just disabling it?" "No," Minho said firmly. "We did the right thing. We proved we are strong without being cruel. That is important, Seojun. When this is all over, we will need to live in the same galaxy as them. Better they remember we could have killed them and chose not to. What if the battle fleet does not give us a choice?" Minho looked at his grandson with tired eyes that had seen too much. "Then you do what you must. But you give them every chance to choose peace first. Every chance. Because once you start killing, it is very hard to stop." The Council battle fleet arrived at the boundary 2 weeks later. 300 warships, the pride of the Draconite Navy, commanded by Fleet Admiral Crix, Vrax's own son. They came expecting a fight, ready to crush the upstart humans and restore the Council's authority. What they found instead was a single human vessel waiting for them. Commander Do-hyun Kang stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Remembrance, watching the Council fleet assemble. 300 ships against one. The odds would have been impossible 25 years ago. Now they were almost fair. "Shall I activate the defense fleet?" asked his tactical officer. "Not yet," Do-hyun replied. "Open a channel to their commander." The view screen activated, showing Fleet Admiral Crix. He was younger than Vrax, but just as proud, just as certain of Draconite superiority. "Human vessel, you are in violation of Council security protocols. Stand down immediately or be destroyed." Do-hyun kept his voice calm and respectful. "Fleet Admiral Crix, with respect, you are the ones in violation. You have crossed into territory we explicitly warned you to avoid. Turn back now, and there will be no conflict." Crix laughed, a harsh sound that echoed across the communication channel. "One ship threatens 300? Your arrogance is astounding. Perhaps 25 years in exile has driven you mad." "Please listen," Do-hyun said, and there was genuine urgency in his voice now. "We do not want to fight you. We never wanted to fight you. We just want to be left alone to do what needs to be done. Turn back. Please. Surrender your vessel," Crix demanded. "And all human territories will be placed under council authority. These are your only options." Do-hyun closed his eyes briefly, sending a silent prayer to whatever gods might be listening. Then he opened them again. "I gave you a chance. Remember that." He closed the channel and turned to his crew. "Activate the defense fleet. Full combat protocols. But remember our rules of engagement. Disable. Do not destroy. We are not murderers, even if they want us to be." Around the council fleet, space seemed to tear open. Not dozens of ships appeared this time, but hundreds. Sleek vessels that moved like dancers, massive platforms that hummed with barely controlled power, and in the center of it all, something that made even Do-hyun nervous. The Titan-class vessels, humanity's largest ships, each one a kilometer long and packed with technology that had taken 25 years to develop. Crix's confidence evaporated. His sensors were showing impossible readings, energy signatures that should not exist. Weapons systems his analysts could not identify. And the ships themselves seemed alive, responding to threats before his crews could even fire. "All ships, open fire!" Crix ordered, desperation replacing arrogance. The council fleet opened fire with everything they had. Missiles, energy weapons, kinetic rounds, thousands of projectiles filled space, enough firepower to destroy a small moon. And the human ships simply were not there. They moved through space like water, flowing around the attacks, appearing behind council ships before disappearing again. And when they fired back, they used the same technology Threx's fleet had encountered, weapons that shut down systems without destroying them. But this time, the council fought harder, longer. The battle lasted almost 3 minutes. When it ended, 300 council ships hung dead in space, their crews unharmed, but their vessels completely disabled. And surrounding them, the human fleet waited, weapons still charged but not firing. Do-hyun opened a channel to Crix again. "Your fleet is defeated," he said quietly, "but your crews are alive. In 1 hour, we will restore basic systems to your ships so you can return home. But I need you to understand something very important." Crix, all his pride stripped away, could only nod. "We did not do this because we hate you," Do-hyun continued. "We did this because you forced us to. 25 years ago, you sent us into the darkness. You thought you were protecting yourselves from a threat, but you were wrong. We were never the threat. We were the warning." "Warning of what?" Crix whispered. Do-hyun pulled up sensor data on the view screen, showing readings from deep space, from the void beyond the galactic rim. "Something is coming. Something that destroyed civilizations older and more powerful than the Council. We found their ruins, we decoded their warnings, and we spent 25 years preparing for what they warned us about instead of wasting time playing political games." He let that sink in. "We became strong not to threaten you, but to protect ourselves. And despite everything you did to us, we would have protected you too, if you had let us. But you chose pride over wisdom. You chose fear over friendship. And now, when we need to focus all our resources on the real threat, we have to waste time dealing with your fleets." "What? What is coming?" Crix asked. "Something worse than you can imagine," Do-hyun replied. "And it is almost here." As if to punctuate his words, alarms began sounding across both fleets. Long-range sensors were detecting massive energy signatures emerging from deep space. Something was entering the galaxy, something huge, and it was heading straight for Council space. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in their 10,000-year history. Counselors shouted over each other, demanding answers that nobody had. On every view screen surrounding the chamber, the same terrifying images played. Massive structures emerging from the void between galaxies, each one the size of a small moon, moving with purpose toward council space. "What are they?" someone screamed. "Unknown," came the reply from the science division. "They match no known technology. They do not respond to communication attempts. And they are heading directly for our most populated systems." Counselor Vrax, his pride finally broken, stood with shaking legs. "Contact the humans," he said quietly. Silence fell over the chamber. "What did you say?" the Valoran counselor asked, though she had heard him perfectly. "Contact the humans," Vrax repeated, louder this time. "They warned us. Admiral Park warned us. Captain Yuna Choi warned us. Commander Do Yun Kang warned us. And we did not listen. Now we must ask for their help, or we will all die." In human space, Dr. Hana Kim watched the long-range sensor data with a mixture of fear and relief. Fear because the enemy had finally arrived, 25 years of preparation about to be tested. Relief because it had not come sooner, before humanity was ready. "How long until they reach the first council worlds?" she asked. 6 days, Narisong replied. "Maybe 7 if they maintain current speed." "And our fleet?" "Ready, waiting for your orders." Hana turned to the young woman beside her, Sora Lim, humanity's new chief ambassador. She was only 30 years old, but she carried the weight of their entire species on her shoulders. "The council will contact us soon," Hana said. "They will beg for help. What will you tell them?" Sora thought carefully before answering. "I will tell them the truth, that we will help them, but not because we owe them anything, because it is the right thing to do, even after everything they did to us." "Especially after everything they did to us," Sora replied firmly. "We are not like them. We do not let fear and pride control us. We do what needs to be done." 3 hours later, the council's transmission arrived. It was Vrax himself, and he looked like he had aged a decade in a day. "Humanity," he began, and his voice cracked with the effort of the words. "We ask for your help. We were wrong. About everything. Please." Sora responded immediately. "We will help you, but we have conditions." "Anything," Vrax said desperately. "No," Sora corrected him. "Not anything. Specific things. First, this ends the exile. Humanity is free to move anywhere in the galaxy. Second, we become equal members of the Council with full voting rights. Third, you share all your sensor data and intelligence with us immediately. No secrets. And fourth—" She paused, letting the weight of her next words settle. "You listen when we speak. No more dismissing us as upstarts or threats. We are your allies now, or we are nothing." Vrax nodded without hesitation. "Agreed. All of it. Just please, help us." "We will," Sora said. "But understand this. We have been fighting this enemy for 20 years. In secret, in the darkness, where you could not see. While you sent fleets to threaten us, we were sending ships to hold back the tide. We lost thousands of people protecting a galaxy that had exiled us. We did not do it for you. We did it because it was necessary." The council chamber fell silent as Sora's words sank in. 20 years. Humanity had been fighting alone for 20 years. "Why did you not tell us?" the Valoran counselor asked softly. "We tried," Sora replied, "but you would not listen. So we stopped trying to convince you and just did the work that needed doing." Admiral Minho Park, old but still standing, appeared beside Sora in the transmission. "The entity approaching your space is what destroyed the ancient civilizations," he explained. "We call them the Devourers, because they consume everything. Energy, matter, information. All of it gets absorbed into their structures. They have been dormant for millions of years, sleeping in the void between galaxies. Something woke them. We do not know what. We just know they are coming. Can we stop them? Vrax asked. Yes, Minho said simply. But only if we work together. Your numbers combined with our technology. Your resources combined with our knowledge. Together we can win. Alone, we all die. The combined fleet assembled 2 days later. 3,000 council ships, representing every species in the galaxy, working alongside 400 human vessels. The numbers favored the council, but anyone who looked closely could see that the human ships were different. Better. 25 years of desperate innovation had produced miracles. Commander Yejun Ko stood on the bridge of the human flagship Unity, watching the fleet organize itself. He was young for a fleet commander, only 34, but he had trained his entire life for this moment. Every simulation, every drill, every lesson had been preparing him for the day when humanity would face the Devourers. Council fleet reporting ready, his communications officer reported. Human fleet ready, added his tactical officer. Good, Yejun said. Open a channel to all ships. Council and human. The view screen activated, showing thousands of faces from hundreds of species. This is Commander Yejun Ko of the Human Federation. In a few hours, we will face an enemy that has destroyed civilizations far older than any of us. They do not negotiate. They do not communicate. They simply consume. But we are not the species they destroyed millions of years ago. We are stronger, we are smarter, and most importantly, we stand together. He paused, looking out at the assembled fleet. 25 years ago, the Council and humanity were divided. Fear and pride kept us apart. But today we fight as one. Not as separate species, but as defenders of all life in this galaxy. Some of you may not trust the humans. Some humans may not trust you. That is okay. Trust is earned. But survival is shared. We survive together, or we die together. There is no other option. The Devourers arrived 6 hours later. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Devourers' ships moved with alien intelligence, adapting to every tactic, learning from every engagement. Their weapons tore through shields that had been considered impenetrable. Their defenses absorbed energy that should have destroyed them. But they had never fought humans before. Human ships darted through the battle, too fast to target, too unpredictable to anticipate. They used weapons the Devourers had never encountered, technologies built from ancient warnings and modern desperation. And most importantly, they used tactics no other species would have considered, sacrificing ships to save others, taking impossible risks to protect their allies, fighting with a courage born from having nothing left to lose. The Council ships fought alongside them, learning quickly, adapting their strategies to match the humans' innovative chaos. Draconite warriors found themselves following orders from human commanders half their age. Valoran scientists worked side by side with human engineers, combining ancient knowledge with new ideas. The battle raged for 18 hours. Ships died on both sides. Millions of lives were lost. But slowly, impossibly, the combined fleet began to win. Yejun watched as the last Devourer ship collapsed in on itself, imploding from the quantum weapons humanity had developed specifically for this fight. "Confirmed destruction," he ordered. "Confirmed," his tactical officer replied. "All Devourer vessels destroyed." The threat is neutralized. Cheers erupted across the fleet, human and alien voices mixing together in celebration. But Yejun did not celebrate. He opened a private channel to Dr. Hana Kim, back on the human homeworld. "We won," he reported. "Good," Hana replied, her ancient voice tired but satisfied. "But this was just one fleet. The Devourers sent scouts. Now they know we are here. Now they know we can fight back." "So it is not over?" "No," Hana said. "It is just beginning. But this time we do not fight alone." 3 months later, the new Galactic Accord was signed. Humanity took its place as equal partners in the Council. Trade agreements were established. Cultural exchanges began. And most importantly, joint military training started, preparing for the day when the Devourers would return in force. Admiral Minho Park, now 93 and confined to a wheelchair, attended the signing ceremony. Beside him stood Counselor Vrax, equally old and equally tired. "We were fools," Vrax said quietly. "Yes," Minho agreed, "but wise enough to learn from it. That is what matters. If we had worked together from the beginning—" "We did not," Minho interrupted gently. "We cannot change the past. We can only build a better future." Sora Lim approached them, carrying the signed accord. "It is done," she said. "Humanity is no longer in exile." Minho smiled, looking at the young ambassador who represented everything humanity had become. "We were never truly in exile," he said. "Exile implies punishment. What we experienced was transformation. They forced us to leave. We warned them. And now they understand. Humanity does not seek dominance. We seek family. But if you reject the hand of friendship, you face the consequences of our absence." Vrax bowed his head in acknowledgement. "And we have learned the cost of that absence. Never again." "Never again," Minho agreed. Outside the chamber, human and alien children played together, the first generation to grow up without the old divisions. The galaxy had changed. Humanity had changed it, not through conquest or domination, but by becoming exactly what the Council had feared, strong enough to stand alone, but wise enough to choose unity. The consequences of forcing humanity to leave had been learned, the warning had been heard, and now, together, they would face whatever came next.